It was a cold, quiet evening, and I sat by the window, watching the streetlights flicker. My husband, Tom, was supposed to be home an hour ago, but lately he had been coming home later and later. At first, I didn't think much of it. But then, strange things started happening, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. What could he be hiding? Tom and I had always had a steady routine. He would leave early in the morning, go to work, and come home just in time for dinner. We would talk about our days, share stories, and laugh. But in the past few weeks, something had changed. He started coming home late, sometimes an hour, sometimes even 2. At first, he said he was busy with work. I believed him, but soon I noticed he looked tired, almost distracted when he walked through the door. He'd barely say hello before heading straight to bed. One night, as I sat alone, waiting, I began to wonder. Why was he staying out so late? Was he keeping a secret from me? My heart pounded as different ideas raced through my mind. The next day, I called my best friend Sarah. She'd been my friend since we were kids, and I trusted her completely. "Sarah," I said, trying to sound calm, "do you think I'm overthinking this? Tom's been coming home so late, and he doesn't talk to me like he used to." Sarah paused, and then she spoke gently. "I don't know, but if it's bothering you, maybe you should talk to him. Sometimes people go through things they don't know how to share." Her words made sense. But how could I ask him without sounding suspicious? I decided to wait and see if he'd tell me on his own. A week later, as I was tidying up the living room, I noticed Tom's jacket draped over the back of a chair. It was unlike him to leave things out. Curious, I picked it up and noticed a faint smell, something sweet and unfamiliar, like a perfume I didn't recognize. My heart raced. Who wore this perfume, and why did it linger on his jacket? I tried to push the thought away. Maybe he'd brushed past someone at work, but a small voice inside me whispered that it was something more. Could it be possible that Tom was meeting someone else? The thought made my stomach twist. That evening, I waited by the window, watching the street and waiting for Tom to come home. As I watched the darkened road, my mind filled with questions. I wasn't angry. I just needed answers. When Tom finally walked in, I took a deep breath and spoke up. "Tom, can we talk?" He looked surprised, then nodded slowly, setting his bag down. "Is everything all right?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "You've been coming home late, and I noticed something different." Tom sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's just work," he replied, his eyes avoiding mine. "Things have been a bit more stressful lately." I wanted to believe him, but the perfume on his jacket lingered in my mind, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't telling me the whole truth. After our conversation, I felt even more uncertain. Tom's explanation hadn't eased my worries. It had only added to them. Why was he being so secretive? And if it was just work, why didn't he talk to me about it like he used to? I decided to keep my suspicions to myself, but it wasn't easy. Every time he came home late, I felt my heart sink a little more. And every time he brushed off my questions, I felt a mixture of sadness and frustration building inside me. One evening, I called Sarah again. She listened patiently as I poured out my worries. "Maybe he's going through something he doesn't know how to share," she suggested. "Sometimes people pull away when they're stressed." "Maybe," I murmured, though deep down I still had doubts. I wanted to trust Tom, but I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was wrong. A few days later, as I was cleaning up after dinner, Tom's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. He was in the shower, so I reached for it out of habit, thinking it might be an important message. But when I saw the screen, my heart skipped a beat. It was a message from someone named Sam, and it read, "Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow." I felt my stomach drop. Who was Sam? And why were they looking forward to seeing my husband? When Tom came out of the shower, I handed him his phone, watching his face carefully. He glanced at the screen and quickly turned it off, slipping it into his pocket. He didn't say anything, but his reaction only made me more suspicious. The next day, I made a decision. I needed to know what was going on, and if Tom wouldn't tell me, I'd find out on my own. I felt guilty for even considering it, but I couldn't bear the uncertainty any longer. That evening, I waited until Tom left for work, then I followed him. My heart pounded as I drove behind him, keeping a safe distance. I felt like a spy in a movie, but this was my life, my marriage, and I needed answers. To my surprise, he didn't drive to his office. Instead, he pulled into the parking lot of a small cafe. I parked nearby, watching as he walked inside and sat down at a table near the window. A few moments later, a woman walked in and joined him. My heart sank. Was this Sam? The woman smiled at Tom, and they seemed deep in conversation. I felt tears sting my eyes, but I forced myself to stay and watch, needing to know the truth. As I watched them talk, I noticed something strange. Tom didn't look like a man meeting a secret love. Instead, he looked sad. The woman, Sam, reached across the table and patted his hand, giving him a comforting smile. Curious and confused, I decided to go inside. I walked into the cafe, my heart racing, and approached their table. Tom's eyes widened in surprise when he saw me. "Jess," he stammered, looking like he'd seen a ghost. "Hi," I replied, my voice trembling. I needed to know what was going on. He looked at Sam, who nodded, giving him a gentle smile. "You should tell her," she said softly. Tom took a deep breath, then looked at me, his eyes filled with emotion. "Jess, this is Sam, my therapist." I blinked, taken aback. "Your therapist?" I repeated, feeling a mix of relief and confusion. Tom nodded, looking down at his hands. "I've been struggling, Jess, with work, with stress. I didn't want to worry you, so I started seeing a therapist to try and deal with it. I know I should have told you, but I thought I could handle it on my own." My heart ached as I listened to him. All this time, I'd thought he was hiding something dark, but he was actually trying to cope with his own struggles in silence. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "I didn't want you to see me as weak," he admitted. "I wanted to be strong for you." I reached out, taking his hand. "Tom, I wish you'd told me. I love you and I want to be there for you, even in the tough times. You don't have to face things alone." Sam gave us a gentle smile. "It's good to talk about these things. Marriage is about sharing both the good and the bad." Tom squeezed my hand, his eyes filled with gratitude. "I'm sorry for keeping this from you. I didn't realize how much it was affecting you, too." I smiled, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. "We're in this together, Tom. No more secrets, okay?" He nodded, pulling me into a hug. I felt a sense of relief, knowing that our bond was stronger than any doubts or fears. After that day, Tom and I worked on rebuilding our trust. He continued to see Sam, but he was open with me about his progress and struggles. We made a promise to be honest with each other, even when things got tough. Our relationship grew stronger as we learned to communicate better. I realized that sometimes people hide things not because they don't trust you, but because they're afraid of appearing weak. And I knew now that love meant standing by each other, even in moments of doubt. Looking back, I understood that trust is the foundation of any relationship. Tom's late nights had filled me with fear, but in the end, they led to a deeper understanding between us. We both learned that it's okay to ask for help and that true love means facing challenges together. You truly care about someone, it's essential to share both the joys and the struggles. Keeping secrets, even with good intentions, can cause misunderstandings and create distance. Love grows stronger when we're open with each other and willing to be vulnerable. Have you ever faced a moment where you needed to trust someone even though you were afraid? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments. Thank you for joining us for this heartfelt story on Honest Confession. If this story touched you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell for more real-life tales that remind us of the power of honesty, love, and trust. Let's keep learning and growing together.